perfect opening song for any social, really, because when we are all together here in our Sonder Fam tribe, it is always a vibe, right? It is a vibe of nice and supporting one another and being open and sharing and getting deep with ourselves and getting curious. And that's the best kind. So, thank you all for being here tonight. I am super excited. I love doing our journal prompt socials. I think that they are probably some of my favorite. I think all of our socials are definitely fun and have something to offer, and especially the ones we do on a regular basis are very much a part of our important routines, which we'll be talking about this evening. But I think these journal prompt socials are really special. So I'm excited to be doing that with you all this evening. So if this is your first social or if this is your first journal prompt social, welcome. We'll be doing some activities together tonight, some of which are in the journal, and I'll be kind of guiding you through, giving some examples, and then giving you time to actually put that pen to paper and get those things done. And we also will be sharing with each other in the chat different ideas, different ways of looking at things, different perspectives. That's one of the best parts about these socials, that we get the opportunity to hang out and share with one another in real time. And the way that you'll do that is through the chat. Like, you'll notice you don't have to worry about your cameras being on, right? Or whether or not you're muted or not muted, because I'm always muted somehow. I'm that person in the meeting, right? That's like, oh, sorry, I'm muted. So you don't have to worry about any of that tonight. The only thing you do want to check and make sure is that that little blue box above where you type in the chat, make sure that that is set to everyone instead of host and panelist. If it's set to host and panelist, not everyone will see what you have to share, and we definitely want everybody to see what you're sharing, because you never know, you might sort of be that aha moment or inspiration for somebody else. So we definitely want to make sure that you are sharing with everyone. So just make sure that you have that little box checked there. As we go through tonight, there will be different examples and things up on the screen. If you want to take pictures or screenshots, that is really good with us. And especially if you'd like to take pictures of your journal once you get your things done and share that to Sonder Instagram, TikTok, wherever it is that you like to share, we would love for you to do that. We would love to see what you do. So as always, we'll go through our community guidelines. Please be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam, please. Respect everyone's privacy, especially in the journal prompt socials. Sometimes things can get really deep and crunchy, and we love that. But it's important that we're respecting everyone's privacy so they feel comfortable to share. In that same vein, no hate speech or bullying, right? We need a safe, comfy space to share. Try to limit repetitive product and accessory questions. We don't mind like a little bit of chatter around like stickers or like questions here and there about the products or best pens or anything, but these socials are always so fast. I swear it's like the fastest hour of the day of the week. And so we always want to make sure we have as much time as we can on our actual activities. And then there are certain inquiries and things that we can't help with. Jennifer O, the wonderful, fabulous Jennifer O, is going to be my stage manager tonight, which means she's going to be in the chat, hanging out with you all, answering questions. I'll be in the chat too, but sometimes it's hard for me to multitask. So she will be in there and might get to you a little bit faster. But there are some things that she and I do not have access to. We don't have access to your subscription information or shipping. So anything like that that needs to be directed to the customer care team, we'll send you over to hello@Silk and Sonder, and they will be happy to take a look. And finally, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of our wonderful community. But you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So if we do get into some things that maybe you're not ready to engage with, or if you're just like in a mood, right? Like last week I was sick, and like at the beginning of the week, I was just in kind of a mood, and I was just kind of not feeling my normal habits and things. So if you just need to hang out in the chat, that's good with us. If you need to ignore the chat and just spend time in your journal, that's good with us too. If you need to completely skip an activity and do another one in your journal, or work on your coloring page, or just hang out and like jam out to the music for a minute, you do whatever you need to do to make this time worth it for you. We want you to feel empowered in making that decision. So what we're going to do tonight is we'll be doing an opening activity together, and this will be something that is not in your journal. So we'll be doing that on like a blank page or space in your journal. And then we're gonna work on routines on page 16. And then we'll close out with our gratitude jar on page 13 of your journal. So our theme this month, as all of you now know, or at least I hope you know, is thrive. And I've spoken before about how this is an awesome theme and it's one that feels like really accessible to understand, right? I think we all kind of have an idea of what it means to thrive for us, what that, maybe looks like in our crystal ball or what we think it should feel like. But the reality is that you can't just snap your fingers and like begin thriving in most cases. Sometimes we can make very small but impactful changes that kind of change direction or course of what we're doing and where we're at. And it can feel like, wow, that one small change was like the snowball I needed to really start thriving. And that's true, but it still takes time for that to snowball. So, as we're engaging with our theme this month, and especially tonight when we're going to talk about routines, just keep in mind like, be patient. Yes, dream big, imagine, like keep your eye on that prize, but also don't let yourself get frustrated if it doesn't happen immediately tomorrow, because sometimes it does take time. And if you're in a season where you're already thriving and like you're in that space and you're in that glow, we are so pumped for you. Please share with us. Like, we want to celebrate with you and we want to use you as our inspiration for those of us that are not in that season yet. But if you aren't in that season of thriving, or maybe there are areas of your life where you feel like you are, but there are other areas where you feel like you're not, that is okay. Part of like really engaging with this theme is being honest about where we are and then just getting curious about, okay, are these realistic things for me? Is this really what I want? Is this going to give me what I need? And then once we answer those questions, thinking about, okay, realistically, right? Like, how can I get there? What can I do today that might help me start moving in that direction or kind of fulfilling that part of my like life? So, anyways, if you're not there yet, it's okay. You're not alone. Baby steps, one thing at a time. Just do the next right thing. So, we're going to do our opening activity first. Like I mentioned, this is not going to be in your journal. So you're going to want to flip to a blank page or space in your journal. You probably will want like a full page for this. So if you're somebody that usually fills up all the little nooks and crannies in your journal, first of all, that's amazing. I'm super impressed by you. But also you may want to grab like a spare notebook or a spare piece of paper for this one if you've already kind of filled all of that in. And what we're going to do is flip over to that page and we're going to draw a tree. More on that in a minute. And we're going to start with our roots. And on the roots, we'll write names of people, places, and things that give you stability to thrive and meet your dreams and goals. Then you're going to draw the trunk of the tree. And in the trunk, you're going to write words, actions, and steps you can start taking to meet your dreams and goals. Then you'll add branches and leaves. And in the leaves and branches, write your hopes, goals, and dreams. And altogether, these are things that demonstrate your ability to thrive. Then you're going to create a little compost heap and you're going to write down some of the things you no longer want to be defined by. I love this. So these could be problems, cultural, societal expectations, trauma, etc. You're going to put them in the compost heap and let them break down and wash away. So that's a lot of instruction. So don't worry, we'll come back to it. But I know it says to start by like drawing your tree. But if you're like me, you kind of have to know, well, how big does my tree need to be? How many little poofs of leaves or individual leaves do I need? Like, where am I going this with this? How do I construct it, right? My brain thinks very logically. So I had to start by like brainstorming. I had to kind of think about, okay, what are my like goals and hopes and dreams? Like, what are those things that like will, when I achieve them, I'll really feel like I'm thriving, and make a list. And then I was able to kind of put them into categories like, oh, these kind of all seem to do with like my career, or these seem to do with like my home, or these seem to do with like future, right? Like way off in the future. So if that's you, feel free to do a brainstorm first. You do not have to start by drawing the tree. If that is not you and you want to start by drawing the tree, by all means, draw the tree. But do whatever you need to do. And if you're like, oh my gosh, why am I having a brain block? And like, suddenly I can't think of any of my dreams except for like one. look back at like your intentions that you set this month. Like you probably had like a clear vision of where you want to be and why you set those intentions. So that might help to like spark your memory and get you out of that like roadblock. Because sometimes my brain, as soon as I say, hey, I need you to make a list, it goes, what? I've never heard of a list. I don't know what that is. I have no idea what you're saying. So if you have one of those brain blocks, try flipping back to your earlier pages in your journal for maybe some inspiration. And then if you need to do a quick like scratch of doodle of the tree, you can do that too. Whatever you need to make this process work for you. So this is my tree. Now, we did an activity similar to this for a different theme like a couple of years ago. And I was actually able to go back and kind of reference mine. And it was really cool because some of my dreams are the same, some of them have changed. And for the dreams that are the same, I had actually taken a lot of the actions that I had already written down. And so that was really cool to see. So definitely hang on to these trees and like come back to them in another year or so and see what happens. But some of my like goals and dreams are there at the top of the tree, and it's probably, if you twist your head sideways a little bit, you can see some of the things I wrote. But I kind of decided to just freeform write a bunch of things in my trunk and branches and stuff of things that would help me reach my dreams and things in the top of my tree there, because a lot of the actions actually apply to most of these things, right? Like continue to process and heal. That's going to help me in almost every single one of these things. And then my roots were very much the same, which is nice. It's nice to see that like a lot of those same things are helping to like ground me in. But I really love this compost heap, which was not a part of the activity we did a couple of years ago. So in my compost heap, I no longer want to be defined by my anxiety, by my past trauma, by my own self-doubt, the opinions of others, societal pressure, and impatience. So I'm going to flip back through all of these slides and give you some time to work on your tree. Definitely share with us in the chat how you're approaching this, what some of your dreams and hopes are, how you're going to reach those things, who are the people, things, and places that really like give you that stability that you need. And if you're stuck on something, right? If you're like, well, I have this dream, but I'm not really sure what I can take to get there, talk about that in the chat too. People here are amazing. You guys are the best. And I love seeing all the ways that you support one another. So you'll never know who might give you that aha moment in the chat. So have fun. And then I'll come back with you all in just a few minutes. Thank you all for taking some time to think about your tree, to draw a little doodle, to just make a list, whatever it is that you got to, or however far you got. I'm proud of you for sitting here and thinking about it and reflecting. Like I said, I think it took me about 20 minutes to do what you actually see here, and I had my old one to kind of reference. So, totally okay if you did not get yours done. If you did, I'm actually really impressed. So it's okay for you to continue to work on it as we move through, or even after the social. Our activities do not have to end just because our time together does. But I want to make sure that we have some time for our other things. So we are now going to flip over to page 16 to talk about the routines page. So there's a couple of different ways that you can kind of tackle this page here, which is why the prompt at the top is a little bit like open-ended. If you're somebody that has very established routines already for each of these categories, you may just want to spend this time journaling and kind of reflecting of why these routines are important to you, how you establish them, right? Kind of like pat yourself on the back for that. And then also think about, is there anything that you would like to change? Because a lot of the times we do get set into a routine and it's working really well for us, and that's great. And so we don't even stop to think, is this still working for me? Is there anything that maybe I'd like to tweak on or improve or do a little bit differently? If you are somebody like me who doesn't have a ton of routines, you might want to use this time to like brainstorm. And I'm going to have a lot of different examples to share too of different ideas and things of different things you might want to incorporate into your routines if you ever decided to build one. But it's also okay if you don't have a routine. And just because there are these three categories here of morning, evening, and weekend does not mean you have to have a routine for each one of these. We have lots of folks in Sonder Club, Jennifer and I were talking about this earlier, who comes to socials and share with us that, they have very established routines throughout the week, but on their weekends or whenever their days off are, their entire point of their day off is to let go of that routine and to just rest and enjoy and kind of let life happen as it happens. So it's also okay if your routine is no routine. But Alice Parker, who is a member of our Sonder fam, and she comes to a lot of socials and hangs out, she actually posted this a few days ago about habits and rituals and routines, and it was really cool. So I wanted to share what she posted. So she said, the other day, she was attempting to do the daily ritual and decided that she couldn't discern between a habit, ritual, and routine. And that led her to do some research so she could differentiate between them. And what she found is sort of these definitions around these words that we use a lot of the time. So a habit is defined as a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. A ritual is a meaningful activity that requires careful focus and presence of mind and provides energy and happiness into our lives. And a routine is performed without conscious thought and doesn't require careful focus or presence of mind. So, thinking about those definitions, it seems like the way that we build a routine actually starts with building habits, right? We have to kind of select a few things that we want to become habits and stack them together before they become a regular thing and then eventually become something we don't even think about. And sometimes your routine might be one thing, right? I have a medication that I have to take up as soon as I have to take as soon as I wake up in the morning. And so that is absolutely part of my routine. I don't even think about it anymore. When I first started taking it, I had to think about it. And sometimes I had to set alarms, right? I wasn't used to taking something like that first thing in the morning. So I had to kind of make it a habit. But now that I've been taking it for, I guess it's been about a year and a half now, I don't even think about it anymore. It's just part of my routine. But the rest of my morning, there's zero routine. There's nothing about my morning that is routine. My morning is chaos. I'm not a morning person. Every day of my life, I am scrambling to get out the door. That is what my morning looks like every day. And I do not have a capacity at this time in my life to make any changes there. And that's okay. So I brainstormed some things that eventually someday might be nice to like build into my morning routine, but I have zero intention of actually doing any of them right now. On the flip side, my evening routine is actually pretty well established. I do have a couple of things in that routine that are still becoming habits, or maybe they're more habit than they are routine. But there's a lot of things about what I do before I go to bed that I don't even think about. I always wash my face, always brush my teeth. I always take my other medicine that I have to take at nighttime. I always fill up my water bottle, right? There are things that I don't even have to remind myself. I'm not going to be able to go to bed without them. And so those are pretty established. And then I have some things that we're still working on. We're added in, and that's okay. And then I also don't really have a routine on the weekends, but that is an area where I think I would like to carve out a little bit more intentionality and kind of be a little bit more thoughtful. And so I brainstormed and I did circle a couple of things that I might like to try doing on a more regular basis, like making sure that I do make coffee in the morning so that I'm not, last minute running out and grabbing it from somewhere, and putting away laundry for just 15 minutes a day so that it doesn't pile up and get crazy and be the laundry monster in my room. Now, one of the definitions Alice mentioned is also rituals, which we're not talking about today, but essentially a ritual can be a habit or it can be a routine, but it has a little bit more element of like mindfulness and intention behind it. So you can really think of rituals as time in your journal, right? Because we're sitting here and we're talking about ways that we want to grow and improve our lives, but we're being really intentional about it. And so just by you being here tonight and carving out that space for yourself, that is a little bit more of a ritual. And there's a great book called The Power of Ritual that kind of talks about weaving a little bit more of that intentionality into your life and into some of your daily routines and habits. Highly recommend it. Great book if that sounds interesting to you. But I want to give some more examples. So the American Heart Association, this actually popped up as an advertisement to me. Hilarious. The algorithm knew that we were going to be talking about habits and routines. So they had this fun infographic about, give yourself a cue to remind yourself of this like routine habit that you've set, and then think about what your reward is. And hopefully over time it creates a loop. So one of their examples was maybe your routine or your habit, right, that you want to build is to start taking a morning walk. You want to start your day that way. Well, the cue that you might plan for, and maybe this is a part of your nightly routine, is to set the walking shoes by the bed so that when you get up in the morning, you see the shoes, you remember, oh yes, I'm going to start walking in the mornings. And then you go walking, you start your day in a better mood, that's your reward, and the cycle continues. So I've got a couple more examples there. And of course, I'll go through all of these back and forth while you're working on yours. We have some more examples here in Sonder Club where some folks actually wrote out their different routines, and you can see this one on the left is filled with all kinds of things and ideas, and that's awesome. And then on the one in the middle, it has a little bit less, and that's also awesome. I think it's really important to be realistic. Don't overwhelm yourself. Focus on what makes sense to you. And then the person on the right kind of journaled and wrote what their routine was that morning. Like, what was their routine that morning? What did it look like in the evening? And why do they do the things that they do? And then I have lots of ideas to share. So if you're thinking about, oh, I don't really have a routine, I've never really thought about one, I've never really thought about intentional habits for a specific time of the day, don't worry, we got some inspiration. These are all morning ideas. And then we have some ideas here for very specific things. So it's morning routine ideas for slow days, morning routine ideas for mindful days, and morning routine ideas for fast days. And then we also have some examples for evening and then also weeknights. Whoop, one too far. So I'll flip through all of these so you have some inspiration. Definitely tell us in the chat where you're getting stuck, what's coming up for you, how you're tackling this page. Again, it's totally fine if you just want to reflect and journal about why you might want to establish a routine in this area. It's okay if you put something in each of these boxes, in one of these boxes, or none of these boxes. Do whatever works for you. And then we'll come back together for our last activity. Okay. Hopefully, you got some good ideas for routines or were able to reflect by the ones that you have are important to you. And hopefully, you were realistic, right? Hopefully, you didn't overwhelm yourself too much. If you're still working on this, it is okay. But I do want to make sure that we get to our last activity, which is our gratitude jar on page 13. So, something nice and fun for the closing out of this evening. So there's obviously a million different ways that you can do this. You can decide to pick a theme and kind of fill up your jar, fill based on that theme. I was very much inspired by the example on the right, which came from Sonder Club. And so I decided to do my gratitude jar on the left, sort of focused around summertime and the things that I am specifically grateful for in the summertime. But you can decide to kind of fill out one thing a day in your jar, kind of using it a little bit like a gratitude log. I know Jennifer told me that she's really trying to do one word of gratitude in her jar, just a single word. And that's a little bit challenging. Yeah, exactly. It's hard to stick to one word. And you've got kind of example there on the left that looks like they tried to stick to about one or two words as well. You of course can do stickers, you could do quotes, song lyrics, whatever it is that kind of sparks that feeling of gratitude in your heart. And you can do doodles or just write out the words or print out pictures. You can make it as fun and creative or as simple as you like. Focusing on gratitude is never a bad thing. It is so good for us and it's so good for our mindset. So I'll throw on some fun music for you all to work on your gratitude jars. Let us know if you're doing anything fun or different or special, or if you've already done your gratitude jar and you want to continue to work on your tree or work on your routine, definitely feel free to do that. But I'll put on some music and then we'll close out our time together. Thank you all for sharing in the chat the things you're putting in your gratitude jar, how you're tackling it. Saw a couple people deciding to go with themes or use stickers for inspiration. I always love seeing how these turn out. And I mentioned in the chat, this was my first time ever like going with a theme and decorating mine, and it made it a totally different experience. And I had so much fun with it. And speaking of fun, we have had so much fun with all of you tonight. If you can believe it, it's time for us to wrap up our time together. I know, it always goes by way too quick, way too fast. We still have that early bird code for the Elevate Planner. If you're interested in that, get your 10% off. There are stickers. We have our June matchy stickers and then our big sticker book. So if you are a sticker girly, make sure you check those out. I am slowly but surely becoming a sticker girly now that I'm starting to use the stickers. I never thought that that would be me, but I just like the way that they feel, especially like the way that they feel in the journal. It does some sensory things for me that I absolutely love. Yes, so we also have the big book. And then we're still doing our refer a friend. You get $10 off, they get $10 off, and then you can come to fun socials together. If you're able to upgrade to an annual subscription, it can save you some money. So just something to think about. And then be sure that you fill out your survey. Tell us what you think. Definitely put in the comments about that it would be nice to have like printouts for some of these artsy kind of activities and things. I passed it along, but it always helps if they see it coming from you all directly as well. And then Jennifer is going to pop the link to the YouTube channel in the chat. This social, along with many of our others, is recorded and it'll be up on the YouTube page in a few business days. But there's tons and tons of socials on there, so definitely go back. Pick an old one to listen to. Might be a fun thing. Maybe you want to add it as a part of your like monthly or weekend routine. You never know if you can't make it to one. And then finally, I will share the link to my playlist that we listened to tonight. All of my playlists are always like public on Spotify, so you should be able to find them and search for them. But eventually they do get dumped into my Sonder Social master list, so you're also welcome to look at that. But I hope that you had a wonderful time spending some time with yourself, thinking about our amazing tree and all of the dreams and things that you have and the people and places and things that ground you and the different steps you can take to get there, thinking about our routines and maybe thinking about ways to improve them or establish them, and then also filling out that gratitude jar. So this weekend, when you get set up for the week, don't forget what we did today. Flip back to these pages. Is there something that you put in your tree that maybe you want to add as a weekly habit this week? Is there something in your routine that you need to build out as a habit and establish when you do that setup? Is there something centered around your gratitude that you need to plan for, right? Like maybe you're very grateful for time outside in the summer. Maybe you need to make plans to spend some time outside. So definitely think about referencing these pages when you are doing your weekly setup later in the week. As always, it was our pleasure to spend this time with you all. Until next time, be good to each other, and we'll see you in Sonder Club.
You think you need a body next to you to keep you warm and safe and bulletproof. Guess you got comfy in the crazy, cozy in the hazy. Lies started sounding like truth. You're feeling stuck inside this vicious loop where codependence like it's super glue. So scared to face all of the changes. You're nothing but anxious. Really, what do you have to lose? Somewhere deep inside your soul, still that child you used to know. Might be wounded, you're not broke. Listen, listen close. Who told you you were hard to love? Hard to love. Who told you you weren't good enough? Good enough. Who broke your heart and made you believe that you won't be anything without her? Watch out, to break them down. Who stole all of your happiness? Happiness. Who almost pushed you off the edge? Off the edge. Don't need their arms to make you complete. Don't take a genius to see that you are. Baby, you are more than enough. You're more than enough. So raise a glass to all the baby steps. for not giving up when you were scared to death. You've been through hell and high water, you're coming out stronger. Exhale, take a deep breath. Somewhere